broke, I've been a money maker. I've been a record breaker, taking credit as an educator. I've been known to spit the flows and make it shaky, shaky thing. Poppin', lockin', stoppin', let it hang. Watch us as we drop this hip hop, it's like it stings. We make the whole room drop and everybody sing. We want the funk. We gotta have that funk. We kick it old school, we think we're so cool. We take it back to the past, we gon' act a fool. Up jumps the middle finger, make my yay.
Hello, 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 and welcome to Sports Buzz, the Fanatical View. I am your host, Scott D. Lewis, here live in studio, Comcast Cable, Channel 23, downtown Danbury, Connecticut, on this December 1st.
Yeah, it's the 1st of December.
Whoa, turn that calendar one final time in a year that probably a lot of people would like to just put behind us overall, 2016. As some of my friends and I were discussing on Thanksgiving Day, let's face it, worst year ever. Maybe. But yeah, so usually at this time of year we're like, what? 2017, another year coming up?
It was warm last night. It was actually warm this morning, and then all of a sudden
cold
it changed
today. Yeah.
After like around 12 o'clock it changed.
I got out of work and I walked outside and said, what happened? Because it was night. I had my windows down today a little bit while driving around, but not on the way home. It was definitely colder. But overall, temperature's not so bad. And yes, we were spiraling out of control towards the end of another year, but you know, as we mentioned, a lot of people probably just want to put this year behind us anyways, so we'll embrace the coming of the Christmas holiday and New Year's right upon that, and looking forward to a new year. But we got a full month to get there, so let's not rush it too much.
Well, that 2 days of rain we needed.
That was big. We really did need that rain, so we were happy to get that.
We got about 4 or 5 inches out of that. So.
Yeah, that was good. There was a lot of rain came down. We'd take some more probably, but you know, we did get some at least, so that is good. Let us, we are here, of course, live, so we're here until 7 o'clock, back after our Thanksgiving break, but let's say hello. There's the number, 203-792-41012.
Yeah, please call in. We would love to hear from anybody.
Is there anybody alive out there?
Yeah. You know, you want to talk about anything, you know, we do the fastest 30 minutes.
That's right. And that's my right-hand man right there, Mr. Bob Broad Jr. How you doing there, Bob?
I'm doing good.
I see it's that time of year for the holiday festive shows coming up.
Yes, it is.
Talking up the Nutcracker Suite next week.
Yes, Jenna will be doing 2 parts again this year.
2 parts for Jenna.
She's being a reindeer and a ginger clown.
Really?
Yes.
Ginger clown.
Yeah.
Not one of those scary clowns.
No.
A ginger clown. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. We will look forward to that.
I'm sure that runs Friday, Saturday, and Sunday next week.
Where is that at?
Danbury High School.
Danbury High School, the big school. Wow, that's pretty impressive for her.
They have one Friday night and doubleheader on Saturday.
Okay.
And then the last one's on Sunday.
Very good. Get out there and check that show out if you're in the mood for some holiday type entertainment. I'm sure they'll do a great job as usual. Bob's Show Spotlight on Tuesday nights at 9 and Wednesdays at 12. Mike Toohey, the director, is in there running things. His show Expose Cinema Friday nights at 9, Wednesdays at 1. I believe we're taping something tomorrow. I'm not sure what direction he's going to go right now. Post-election blues, maybe he's still on that topic. We'll have to find out when we get in there and tape. McFadden might be here at some point. He's fighting traffic, but
he's here now.
He is here now. All right.
Mets Maniac is here.
Maybe we'll see if he can get in your ear and see if he's happy about the Yoenis Cespedes deal that went down. But also, production assistant extraordinaire Connor Faco is here as well. All right, the phone number, 203-792-4101.
He's saying yeah.
He's saying yeah? All right, we'll get to the Mets in a second and we'll follow up on that. I did want to touch base on a couple things we were talking about right before we left for the holiday a couple weeks ago. Would he or wouldn't he survive the Mexico beatdown and the Costa Rica really extreme beatdown? And the answer is he would not. Jurgen Klinsmann, 5.5 years later, out as coach of the United States men's soccer team. And Bruce Arena, the old coach who coached the team from 1998 to 2006, is the man in now at the helm, coming back maybe to save United States soccer. We do have a call?
We have a call.
All right, let's see. Yes, no, we do.
Yes, no? Oh, hung up.
All right, somebody's pranking us.
Maybe
Anyways,
a strange man.
Yeah, probably. So where were we? Klinsmann is out, Bob. I just want to go over a couple things real quick. Some of his accomplishments, as most people like to concentrate on his downfalls.
Right.
Personally, I think he has forgotten more about international soccer than anybody in the United States has ever known.
Right.
So I don't personally think it's a good move myself. But anyways, 2013 CONCACAF Gold Cup, they won. Second round of the 2014 World Cup. Remember, they were in the group of death, and they advanced out of that group against current Euro Cup champion Portugal. That was pretty good, although they did come up short in that Belgium second round, first round of the elimination round. 2016 Copa America, that's this year, Bob.
Right.
Semi-final. People seem to forget he did rebound after some downtimes after that World Cup in 2014, and he did get the team back playing well this year. They were 12-6 on the season, and he did make it to the semi-final of the Copa America. Also, first time ever United States won in European soil, friendlies, but still, they beat Italy, Germany, and the Netherlands in their own soil, on their own soil during his tenure. Not too bad. They also had the record, if you remember, leading into that 2014 World Cup, Bob, everybody was going nuts when they ran off 12 consecutive victories. Not ties, not just unbeaten. They actually won 12 consecutive games during that stretch. So, of course, the downtime, they did lose to Jamaica in the 2015 Gold Cup, and that's when people started getting back on his back. And they lost that playoff game to get into the Confederation Cup in 2015 to Mexico. That was also a tough one. And then, of course, in the hexagonal qualifying round just recently, the 2-1 loss, which ended a 15-year string of undefeated at home during qualifying games in the United States. And then the 4-0 beatdown at Costa Rica. So Klinsmann is out. Bruce Arena takes back over. He did lead the United States to their best ever World Cup, 2002. They made it to the quarterfinal that year. So we'll see how it goes. I was a little disappointed myself. I thought Klinsmann was the right man for the job, but he's out. That's all there is to it. Another story we were talking about when we left, the chase for the Cup was taking place that final weekend before Thanksgiving, and second year in a row, Bob.
Yeah, Joey got topped.
Run off the course, basically, in a restart late in that race. Carl Edwards was in the lead. Logano came down on the inner portion of the track, went low to go around him. Edwards saw him making the move and wrecked himself, basically, took himself out of the race, and he ran Logano off. Logano was able to stay in the race, but it went. He dropped back to 8th on the restart, and Jimmy Johnson was the benefactor of that, who he was out of contention really all race long. All of a sudden, he found himself up front, and he held on for the restart victory in overtime. Anticlimactic. Logano heartbroken again. We were wishing he would come away with it, and he was racing great down the stretch, probably the best racer down the stretch easily, and he was in prime position to win the whole thing, and he got run off the track, much like he did last year, so 2 years in a row. Maybe his big problem is he doesn't have teammates in contention.
It's very possible.
The other teams have 2 or 3 guys in contention protecting themselves and giving themselves a little extra, and he's out there on his own with nobody else in contention. So, but it was a great year for Logano. He had not really a great overall season, but he finished extremely strong. The Connecticut kid, Middletown native. So hats off to him for a great finish.
Quick thing I heard today.
What do you got?
They're changing for baseball next year.
What?
We're not gonna. It's not the All-Star game that's gonna.
Really?
No.
It's not going to decide home field?
No, it's going to be by either the top
best record.
Well,
it's about time they went back to that. Maybe Bud Selig's name being thrown around as possible Hall of Fame this year got him thinking that he should undo that terrible legacy of his of having that disgraceful thing go on, as well as many other disgraceful things that were under his tenure. Oh, steroids? I never heard of them.
No, I never heard that.
Who was talking? I never even knew what steroids were.
No.
Yeah, right. All right. Anyway, speaking of baseball, real quick, we'll mention that before we get to the NFL. So you and the Met Maniac in there, McFadden, are you guys happy to re-sign?
Are we happy to see Cespedes back?
4-year deal, Yoenis. I think they got him for 110 million.
Was it 110 million? 140 million?
140 million. All right, it's a big deal, but only for 4 years.
110 for 4 years.
4 years, right? Okay, so 110 for 4 years, pretty reasonable for this day and age.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a little bit of a head case, a little bit of a flake. He's had a couple injuries, but overall, he does perform.
Yes, he does.
I think Granderson's going to be the odd man out. I personally would stick with Jay Bruce if I were you guys and let him get a full off season to get himself acclimated to New York and come back in spring training. He's got much more talent at this stage of his career than Granderson does.
Yeah, but Granny Man's got his, he's been around for a while.
Yeah, I mean, what does he bat? His batting average
still,
is, 220?
He's still a fan favorite.
You got to produce.
Yeah.
I don't think Granderson can produce anymore.
We let Cologne go.
Yeah, that's true. All right, that's enough baseball. I don't like to do too much in the offseason, but we did have to mention that. It was a pretty big deal for the Mets. All right, NFL, tonight's game, kind of a big game. I mean, I'm kind of, at this point, just waiting. Somebody's got to knock the Cowboys off, Bob.
Yeah, well, it hasn't happened.
I mean, come on. Enough is enough. 10 straight victories for the Cowboys. Best streak in their entire franchise history.
Yeah.
No Troy Aikman, no Roger Staubach.
No.
Those guys never won 10 in a row?
Nope.
Wow. So the Cowboys bring their 10-1, 10-game winning streak into Minnesota tonight. The Vikings lost another brutal game. How about this, Bob? 11 games into the season, the Lions, every single game they have played has been decided by 7 points or less, which is a record for any team in the NFL, never to have all their games be decided by that close a margin this late into the season. And they've been losing, I believe, in the fourth quarter of every one of their games, yet they're 7-4.
Right.
So the Lions are the cardiac kids, and they kicked that field goal to tie with about a minute left against Minnesota, and then they got the interception and the game-winning field goal as time expired. So they pulled off another miraculous victory as the Vikings were winning pretty much that entire game.
Right.
So the Vikings have lost 6 of their last 7 games after that 4-0 start. Really just brutal stretch. Can they somehow, because their defense is still good and playing better, can they somehow shut down the Cowboys on a short week, although they were both played on Thursday, so they've had an extra time off tonight? I don't know. I'd like to see it. I'm getting a little tired of the Cowboys just rolling through everybody at this point. And as a Giants fan, I would imagine.
Yes. Oh, yeah, the Giants are going to have
you're a little bit more tired than I am of that.
The tough end of the season now.
Right. All right, let's get right into that. Giants, as we mentioned a couple weeks ago, we're probably going to come into this week's show at 8-3 because they had the Bears and the Browns. They handled their business against those two bad teams. They have now won 6 in a row, which puts them at 8-3, 4th best record in the NFL, Bob.
Right.
But here we go with their schedule to finish, as they've been kind of taking care of business against weaker teams, unimpressively at the same time, but still winning, and you got to win in the NFL.
Right.
All right, at Steelers this weekend. Steelers have had their share of issues, but still that's a good barometer for them if they can go into Pittsburgh and get a win. Home against the Cowboys. I believe that's a Sunday night game next week. Home against the Lions, previously mentioned Lions, who have been a tough team, playing solid. At the Eagles on a Thursday night.
That's going to be a tough game is when they play the Eagles.
Right. Eagles up and down a little bit, but still a pretty solid team, and plus rivalry game at Philly. And then they finished at the Redskins. So on the road, the final 2 teams against division rivals, Eagles and Redskins. So we'll see what the Giants are really made up of in the final 5 games of their season. But you have to be happy at 8-3, right,
Oh, yes.
Bob? I mean, they're not explosive really offensively, but they get the job done enough, and defensively they've been pretty good, but against weaker teams who don't have great offenses. So we're going to see Pittsburgh does have the ability to put up some points. So we'll see what their defense can do on the road this weekend. All right, around the NFC, some other things. We'll stay NFC East for a second. The Skins are the leader in the wild card at 6-4-1. So right now that tie they had is looking good for them. It's keeping them in front of the other wild card teams. The Lions, we mentioned 7-4. Right behind them, the Vikings and the Buccaneers at 6-5 are the teams behind the Redskins. How about the Buccaneers, Bob? What's going on in Tampa Bay? Last 2 weeks in a row, at Chiefs, they get a win. And then at home against the Seabags, the Seahawks, they held them to 5 points.
I know.
That's not a baseball score. That's a football score. A field goal and a safety is all the Seahawks can muster in Tampa Bay against the Bucs this weekend. So all of a sudden, the Bucs.
I haven't heard of Bucs in a long while.
Everybody picks the Bucs every year to be the team that nobody talks about.
Right.
Our former evil director many times has picked Tampa Bay to come through. I didn't hear his prediction on them this year, but they are in a wild card position right now, Bob, tied with the Vikings. Interesting. Falcons ahead of them in their division at 7-4. The Packers looming behind them at 5-6. Packers finally got a win. They played better against the Eagles on Monday night after getting beat down in Washington the week before. So that is pretty much the NFC picture.
Your Patriots did a job on the Jets.
Oh, that game was as ugly as it gets. It was brutal. Horrible game. And really horrible officiating.
Oh, yeah.
And horrible rules in the NFL, Bob. All right, first on the officiating.
Yeah.
I mean, if the officials can't spot the ball correctly, where do we even begin? I mean, you might as well stop playing the game.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't once in this game, and it was on both sides of the ball.
Right.
They could not spot the ball correctly throughout the entire game, and it was egregious. It wasn't a half a yard one way or the other. It was like full yards.
Yeah.
They were completely off. I'm like, if they can't see that, what can they possibly see? And then as far as the rules go, what is a catch? What is a score in the NFL? I mean, granted, the Jet receiver, I forget his name, maybe McFadden had him. He can tell us in your ear.
Who was the receiver?
He had a great game, and he came up with some great catches in this game, and he made a great effort on this catch right there in the back of the end zone. But the fact of the matter is, his entire body lands out of bounds. But because they say one toe is in...
Can't hear you too good.
Anyways, whoever it was, that's beside the point. The fact is, his entire upper part of his body lands out of bounds in the back of the end zone, yet they say it's a catch because his butt cheek lands inbounds. I'm like, his whole body is out of bounds. It was ridiculous. So, why does that go as a catch? Do you know the name of the guy, Mike?
Yeah, his name was Quincy Anunoby.
I mean, he had a great game. He made a couple really good catches in that game.
So what do you think of the Jets?
Well, McFadden came into the studio.
You don't want me to start on it.
No, we don't want him to start at the Jets. Thanks for the name, though. Anunoby. All right. But, what is a catch, Bob, when the guy lands out of bounds and they're calling that a catch? And then meanwhile, on the 2-point conversion for the Patriots, when they go up by 7, the guy catches the ball, runs through the end zone, inside the pylon. They rule it on the field. A 2-point conversion is good. Then they go to replay and say the ball didn't cross the goal line. He runs through the end zone and scores. And they say that's not a score. And meanwhile, a guy who catches the ball and his whole body lands out of bounds is a score because he dragged one toe and on the same leg. It wasn't the opposite butt cheek that landed out of bounds. So it wasn't like one toe, one butt cheek equals 2 feet. One leg connected to the hip bone, connected to the same leg.
Whatever happened to just calling it?
If you land out of bounds, it's not a catch.
I know. But why, everything's so technical this year.
It's an outrage.
It's not.
So the Patriots at 9-2 are tied with the Raiders for the best records in the AFC. How about them Raiders, Bob?
Yeah.
And they had a great come from ahead, fall behind, come back against the Panthers this weekend. Victory in the black hole out there in Oakland. So they're 9-2, looking pretty good. And let's say in the AFC East, the Dolphins, much like your Giants, winning 6 in a row, 7-4. They're at the Ravens this weekend. The Bills right behind them at 6-5, bounced back with 2 wins in a row as well. Ravens and Steelers at 6 and 5. You got the Texans at 6 and 5. Titans right behind them at 6 and 6. Colts now with Luck banged up at 5 and 6. Chiefs are the top wild card at 8 and 3. Broncos right behind them with the wild card at 7 and 4, tied with the Dolphins. So you got Dolphins, Broncos. You got Bills behind them with Steelers, maybe Titans, maybe Texans, maybe Ravens.
Right.
Those are the teams in the mix. And how about that? The Patriots playing at home this weekend against the Rams. That's not a matchup you see that often.
Very often.
Not great games this weekend, though, Bob. Chiefs at Falcons, that's kind of a big game. Texans at Packers. Bucks at Chargers. Somehow that game all of a sudden is a big game. Colts at Jets on Monday night. Ouch. Pat's.
Who's got the hapless Browns?
Who does have the Browns? Let's see if the Browns can stay winless. Page, I don't see it. Are they on a bye week? Maybe. Oh yeah, they're on a bye week.